Simon is one of the toughest boss enemies in Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and today in this video you'll find out how to defeat Simon. We're doing the easy boss guide for Simon, so you'll definitely be able to beat him, and at the end you'll even get his beautiful sword for Verso. Simoso is one of the best weapons for Verso, and of course you'll also get it along with some color of the Lumina. Additionally, this way you can also collect the last diary, so that you really have all the trophies and can also get the platinum trophy. And of course I'll show you now how the whole thing works, so feel free to leave a thumbs up or even subscribe, I would really appreciate it. And before you get bored, let's jump right in, and the fight looks like this in the end. In the first round we do approx 90 million damage, which is already pretty good, but of course the whole thing continues in the second round as well. In the second round we also dealt another 90 million damage, and of course it also depends a bit on how the roulette Pictos attacks. That's a bit random. In our team we have Sciel and of course Maelle, and the two of them are more than enough. I'll now show you how to skill both of them and which Pictos you need to pay attention to in order to really deal 90 million damage to Simon, and then you can defeat him in one hit. But it does depend a bit on how your roulette Pictos attacks. It's important if you level up a bit beforehand or something like that. For your characters, make sure to learn as many Pictos as possible, because especially for Maelle we really need quite a few Pictos, or rather Lumina, that we need to equip her with. That's why you should have already learned most of them, so go back out and diligently learn Lumina so that you can of course equip them to your characters. So once you can equip them, let's get started right away. First we go into her character, and the configuration is actually pretty simple, and I'll show you that now. As for the character stats, there's really nothing we need to pay attention to here. I don't play with her myself either. As you can see, I still have 153 points available that I haven't even spent. And for her character stats, we really don't need to worry about anything at all. Just leave her as she is. The main thing is she has around 120 Lumina. The weapon doesn't matter for Sciel either. It doesn't matter which one you choose. We don't need it since we're only using her as a buff character. And for that we need the ability Marking Card, which allows you to mark an enemy. Pretty simple. And we also need the ability Fate's Wrath, because this allows us to let an ally deal double damage, and that's what we need. These are the only two skills we need here in both German and English, so that everyone is on the same page. In battle, it's simply the case that Sciel is basically the buff for Maelle, and you just go and you try to set the guy completely on fire, and then of course after all that you make sure to mark him as well. That's basically the strategy you need to use with Sciel. And that's really all you need to keep in mind. Then you use her second ability to give Maelle double damage, and that's Fate's Wrath, and that's how it works in battle. Which Lumina you need for this, I'll show you now with Sciel. And then of course we'll take a closer look at Maelle. So let's go into the Lumina, and these are the Lumina equipped on Sciel. Master of Energy, which naturally gives us AP gain. Second chance, but really only in case the one hit doesn't work and we have to hit a second time. That would also be possible. And of course the Pictos cheater, because Sciel simply has very few Lumina and we don't want to give her any more Lumina either. So that's what it looks like. And for the Pictos, we've learned now we've automatically equipped Swift once and automatically Powerful, which gives us Powerful at the start of battle. We also have Invigorating Shots to possibly gain an AP when we try to set the enemy on fire. Additionally, of course, we have Invigorating Start to have enough AP points at the beginning. And we also have Invigorating Start 3 and Invigorating Start 4, of course, to have enough AP points at the start to set Simon on fire, but also to use our ability to buff Maelle. We also have Invigorating Death. If we really do end up dying and Heim doesn't one-shot us, this way we can definitely attack a second time and then defeat him with 100% certainty. We absolutely equipped burning shots to try to set him on fire, because that way Maelle will deal even more damage later on. That's why burning shots and first strike are a must for both characters, because of course we want to go first and both characters get that. We also have marking shots equipped, but it's not necessary since we have the ability where Simon marks. So marking shots aren't really needed. Also, as just shown, we have Master of Energy equipped, we have catch up, so if you basically die you immediately get your turn. That's our backup in case the one shot doesn't work. And for that, of course, we also have Cheater, so we can act twice to set him on fire. We also have the Pictos Steamwork with us, but we don't really need it, but we can definitely bring it along once. And we also have Warm Up with us, which of course only gives us 5% because we only ever fight for one round. Yeah, those were Sciel's Pictos. And in battle it goes pretty smoothly. In the fight you then try to set Simon on fire by shooting at him, but don't use up too much their AP so that you can still cast your buffs on Maelle, of course. Try to set him on fire. If it doesn't work, it's not a big deal. We still deal enough damage. Then you mark him with the marking card. Even if you've already marked him once, you can still do it again. Use the marking card to mark him again to deal more damage. That almost always works. And you'll still have enough left over AP to use Fate's Wrath, allowing Maelle to deal double damage, and that's basically Sciel's job in the fight. Now let's take a look at Maelle, the most important character for dealing damage. And of course I'll show you all the stats and Pictos we need to pull off a one shot with her against Simon. The attributes honestly aren't particularly important. However, you should make sure you have 99 defense. Also, agility is always a good skill and a bit of vitality. But in the end, what really matters is that your critical hit chance is over 100%. And for that, we need some Pictos, which I'll show you in a moment. Otherwise, of course, we'll use Medallum as our weapon, which is the best weapon for Maelle, and one you can get very early in Act 1. I already showed you how to get all of that. You should all have it with you. And we also need the skill, Stendhal, and everyone should have that as well. That's the only skill we actually need in order to deal the big damage. And now we can take a look at the Pictos. Remember, I've listed all the Pictos for you again down in the description so you can easily follow along. For equipment, we definitely have Agile, Powerful, and Massive First Strike. I only equipped that because I hadn't learned it yet. And Shortcut. These are the Pictos we have equipped to increase our critical chance. As you can see, that brings us up to the 107% I just showed you. But let's take another detailed look at the Pictos now. And among them, Stained is the Pictos that benefits us the most because it always gives 15% increased damage for every status effect. And that's why, of course, we want to apply as many status effects as possible to Maelle. And we do this with various Pictos that help us with that. As I said, you can also find all of them listed again below in the description. We use Auto Agile to naturally get Agile to get the first status effect. Then we automatically use Armored to get the next status effect, increasing our damage by another 15%. We also automatically use Powerful, and of course we get another boost from that as well. 15% more damage, because that's also a status effect. And we also automatically use Regenerating, since that's another status effect that increases our damage. Additionally, we use Inverted Affinity because then we get Inverted, which is also a status effect. On top of that, the Pictos increases our damage by another 50%. So let's move on, and now we'll also take the Pictos burning affinity so that we deal 25% more damage to burning enemies. Because with our aim, we try to set Simon on fire, and that already helps us quite a bit. We also use significantly powerful to get another 15% more damage. When we are powerful, which we always are at the beginning, and healthy strength to increase damage by 25%. At full health, because we always have full health. We also use enhanced first strike, which increases damage by 50% on the first hit. And of course we do that with Maelle immediately. We also use glass cannon because we don't take any damage anyway, so we can deal 25% more damage as well. We also use critical burn to slightly increase our critical chance again. And of course we use Maelle to have 50% increased damage until we get hit. So also right at the start, because we have the first strike Pictos with us and start first. And then we also use the roulette Pictos, and that's really a gamble as to whether it will increase your damage at all. If it works, we can deal those 90 million damage, so it's a bit of a gamble. And you always have to be a little careful with that. If you get 200% more damage, it might not work out with the one shot on the first try. But even if it doesn't work and you end up dying, you can still defeat Simon anyway. We also take Reliable Attacker to deal 30% more damage. We can't be healed because of that, but we don't need to anyway. Intensified Attack. We also take this to spend 1 AP and increase our damage by 20%. Of course, you have to make sure that you always have 9 AP. Then use her special attack to add that 1 more AP. Also, we use Warm Up to increase the damage by another 5%, since we're only playing 1 round anyway. That's why it only gives an extra 5% here. As a critical second chance, we also take the 100% health option here, because if all of this doesn't work out, with the one shot we can attack a second time and then finish him off for good. It's important that you have enough AP for that, of course. That's why we also use Revitalizing Revival, so that everyone gets enough AP to really attack again. If Maelle isn't the first in your lineup, or rather not the first in your team, you want Sciel to be the first in the team. To do this, simply remove some team members from your team, put Sciel in first, and then add Maelle to the team. This way Maelle will basically go second, which is important to keep in mind because we always want Sciel to start. So tidy up the team once, meaning swap them out and stretch the lineup again. And then we can also go into the battle. As I said, you can easily find all the pictograms down in the description. Just look them up and then we simply go into the fight. Now it's just as described earlier. Pretty easy. You just go to Simon and then we start casting our buffs. With Sciel, who of course starts now as we just set up in the team order. And here you just go to the skills and try to shoot Simon first to get him burning. If he's burning great, then you can immediately pull out your marking card and mark him once, so that Maelle can deal proper damage. Then use the skill last, Fate's Wrath. You should use that at the end. You always need 5 AP to buff Maelle once, so he can deal double damage. And with Maelle there's really nothing else to do except use Stendhal. And that's the only thing you do here. We'll just quickly use it now. And our damage currently only goes up to 22 million. In the screenshot I already showed you that it went up to 80 million. Of course that depends on how the roulette Pictos takes effect. But it's not a big deal in the next run, so in round 2 we'll also see how the roulette Pictos works. And as I said, it's always a bit of a gamble, so just keep an eye on it if it doesn't work right away at the start. It's best to just restart and try again. So go into the second round here, and now we're basically doing exactly the same thing again. We shoot at him again until he catches fire, ideally. If he's burning or marked, that's also good. You can remove the mark because we'll mark him with the skill anyway. Just make sure your AP doesn't drop below 6. And for me, setting him on fire didn't work, but that's not a problem. Now we'll use our marking card again, so at least he's marked. Even if he's already marked now, that's fine. We just want to make absolutely sure that he's marked. Then we go back to the skills, use our Fate's Wrath on Maelle so she gets double damage, and now just have her use Stendhal again and hope that the roulette Pictus effect triggers, and if he doesn't take hold you will kill Simon, but that's not a problem because we have Resurrection and can just repeat the whole thing. In this case the roulette Pictus effect triggered and we have 83 million damage. And with that, of course, he goes down in one hit, and yes folks, that means the guy is done for. Well done, you get 50 Lumina as a reward. And of course some other nice things, and naturally one of the best weapons for Verso. If the damage is really significantly lower, then I recommend you quickly restart the game, because that was exactly the issue for me as well. And suddenly, after that, it worked right away with the same settings. 80 million damage. So have fun with Simon and enjoy the Platinum Trophy, and see you in the next guide.